Have you ever found yourself in a moment where someone you care about, someone who should understand you, suddenly ignores you? The silence is deafening. It cuts deeper than words could ever do. You feel that sting of rejection, that urge to chase after them, to demand an explanation, or to fill the silence with something, anything to make it stop. But what if I told you that silence, in that very moment, is not your enemy? What if I told you that the key to regaining your power, your peace, lies not in breaking the silence, but in embracing it, in a world that relentlessly pushes us to seek validation, to be constantly connected, to fill every space with noise? Silence is seen as uncomfortable, almost unnatural. It makes us squirm. It triggers the need to do something, to react, to regain control. But true mastery, real inner strength, comes from learning to be still. It comes from understanding that silence isn't just an absence of sound. It's a space, a powerful force where transformation happens. When you are ignored, your first impulse is often to fill the void, to chase, to explain, to make them understand. It feels like your worth is in question, like you're fading into nothingness. But here's the truth: in that silence, you have the opportunity to do something far more powerful than any reaction you could have imagined. You can reclaim your own worth, your inner peace, and your emotional strength, not by fighting the silence, but by letting it shape you, by mastering it. There is a strange power in silence, one that we often overlook. When you stop reacting, when you stop seeking approval, when you stop chasing after what seems out of your reach, you enter a state of self-mastery. You are no longer at the mercy of external forces. You regain your inner sovereignty, and it is here, in the stillness, that your true self is revealed. The one who isn't swayed by the noise of others, the one who doesn't crumble under the weight of being ignored. That silence at first may feel like emptiness. A void that leaves you uncomfortable, unsure. But what if that discomfort is actually an invitation to pause, to breathe, to reflect, and in that pause, to realize that you don't need anyone's approval to be whole. You don't need anyone's acknowledgement to know your own worth. When you master the art of silence, you begin to master yourself. So, as you face the silence of being ignored, remember, you have a choice. You can either let the silence consume you, or you can let it transform you. You can either react in anger, fear, or desperation, or you can use this moment to rise, to grow, to become stronger. The choice is yours, and it begins in the stillness. In the coming chapters, we'll explore how this silence, the same silence that seems to torment you, can be your greatest ally. Together, we'll uncover the hidden dangers of seeking external validation, the Stoic approach to emotional mastery, and how letting go of attachment can lead to true freedom. But first, let's take a deeper look at why silence is not just something to endure, but something to embrace. That we live in a world where our worth is constantly measured by the eyes of others. Every like on social media, every comment, every nod of approval feeds our sense of self. But what happens when that external validation fades? What happens when you are left in silence, waiting for someone to acknowledge you? But they don't. In these moments, the truth hits hard. You've given away your power. We don't always realize it, but when we seek validation from others, we're outsourcing our self-worth. We allow others to define who we are, and in doing so, we strip ourselves of the most precious thing we have, our internal sense of value. It's like giving someone else the keys to your emotional world, allowing them to lock and unlock your happiness whenever they choose. And when they don't acknowledge you, when they don't see you, the door stays shut. You're left standing outside, feeling unworthy, confused and anxious. This is the trap. The more we seek approval, the weaker we become. We start living for others' expectations, for the approval of people who don't truly see us. And the more we give in to the cycle, the more we lose ourselves. But there's another way. There is a way to reclaim your power, to step out of this cycle and return to your true self. It begins with a simple realization. You are enough just as you are. The approval of others doesn't define your worth. Your value isn't something that can be given or taken away. It's inherent, always there, waiting to be recognized by you. Imagine this each day. Take a moment to look at yourself in the mirror. Don't see your reflection as someone who needs to meet the expectations of others. See it as a reflection of someone who has nothing to prove. Notice the parts of yourself that you admire, that you love without needing anyone else to agree. Write them down, reaffirm your worth, without depending on the opinions of others. When you can do this, you'll find that your need for external validation begins to fade. You no longer rely on others to feel whole. When you stop seeking approval, you stop allowing external forces to control your emotional state. You regain your sovereignty, and with it, your inner peace. This isn't about arrogance. It's about inner strength. It's about knowing deep down that you are enough. And when you know this, when you believe this with every fiber of your being, you no longer feel the need to chase after someone's approval. The silence doesn't bother you because you've already filled yourself with everything you need. The next time you feel the sting of being ignored, remember this: you don't need anyone else to validate your existence. You are worthy of love, respect, and peace simply because you are you. This is where your true power lies, not in the approval of others, but in the quiet, confident knowing of your own worth. Emotions are often seen as forces that control us, unpredictable waves that rise and crash with little warning. In a moment of rejection or when someone ignores you, it's easy to be swept up by anger, frustration, or sadness. These emotions feel overwhelming, as though they define who we are. But Stoicism offers a different perspective, a way to understand and control emotions, rather than being controlled by them. Stoic philosophy doesn't tell us to suppress or deny our feelings. It doesn't ask us to become emotionless robots. Instead, it teaches us to see emotions for what they truly are: signals. They are messengers, alerting us to something within ourselves. Anger might point to a sense of injustice. Sadness may be the result of unmet expectations. But rather than letting these emotions dictate our actions, Stoicism teaches us to observe them without attachment. We don't need to become our emotions. We simply need to understand them. As Epictetus famously said, we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. The external event being ignored doesn't cause the pain. It's the judgment we place on that event. It's the story we tell ourselves. I've been ignored because I'm not worthy, or I must fix this, or I will lose them. These judgments create unnecessary suffering, and it's through the practice of Stoic mindfulness that we can begin to dismantle them. How do we regain control in those emotional moments? When the instinct is to react, we use silence when anger rises, or when sadness threatens to overwhelm us. Instead of reacting impulsively, we breathe, we allow the emotion to be present, but we don't let it drive our actions. In that pause, we create space to choose how to respond. Pause technique is simple yet powerful. When you feel the surge of emotion, take a deep breath and count to 10. Let that moment of silence wash over you. Notice the emotion, but don't let it take hold. This practice doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It means you take control of your response, allowing yourself to choose a reaction that aligns with your values, rather than being at the mercy of your immediate emotional impulses. In that stillness, you gain a greater understanding of yourself. The silence gives you the time to reflect on the underlying causes of your emotions. Why does being ignored trigger such pain? What belief about yourself is being challenged? By practicing emotional mastery, you can learn to separate the event from the meaning you attach to it, and in doing so, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. That as you begin to embrace this Stoic approach, you'll find that you no longer react as you once did. The pain of being ignored will still exist, but it won't have the power to control you. Instead of feeling like a victim of your emotions, you'll feel like a master of them. You'll find peace not by avoiding your feelings, but by understanding and mastering them. And in that mastery, you'll regain your inner strength. Regardless of the external circumstances, there's an invisible weight that many of us carry, a burden that we don't even realize we are holding. It's the weight of attachment, the need to control outcomes, to hold on to people, to make things turn out the way we want them to. But when you are ignored, when someone pulls away from you, that weight becomes even heavier. You feel it pulling you. This desperate need to fix things, to make them see you, to make them stay. But what if letting go could be the key to peace? What if the very act of releasing your grip could set you free? In both Stoicism and many spiritual practices, attachment is seen as the root of suffering. It is the attachment to people, to outcomes, to expectations that causes our distress. Imagine holding onto a rope that is pulling you in a direction you don't want to go. The tighter you grip, the more it drags you, and the harder it becomes to let go. But the moment you release your hold, the pull disappears and you are free. This is the essence of letting go. Not indifference, but freedom. You are no longer a slave to what you cannot control. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop loving or hoping. It simply means you release the need to control. You trust that peace lies not in grasping tightly, but in allowing things to flow as they are meant to. When you stop clinging to the outcome, you create space for new possibilities, for deeper peace, and in that space, you find freedom. There is strength in releasing. It is not weakness. In fact, it takes great courage to let go of something, or someone you care about. But the truth is, when you hold on too tightly, you bind yourself to the very source of your pain. Letting go is a courageous act of self-liberation. It is the acknowledgement that you cannot control others, and that your peace doesn't depend on anyone else's actions or decisions. Next time you feel the urge to chase after someone who is ignoring you, to grasp for their attention or approval, stop for a moment, close your eyes, and visualize yourself as a leaf in a gentle stream. Imagine your attachment to the situation drifting away, with the current leaving you calm and unburdened. Letting go is not a sign of defeat. It is a profound act of strength. It is the recognition that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else. As you practice this detachment, you'll begin to notice a subtle shift within yourself. The pain of being ignored will still be there, but it won't hold the same power over you. You'll no longer feel like you need someone else to fill the empty space. Instead, you'll learn to fill it with your own peace, with your own sense of self. And in doing so, you'll find that you are more powerful than you ever realized. The true freedom comes not from holding on, but from knowing when to let go. At first, silence can feel like a void, a vast emptiness that echoes with the weight of your thoughts, your doubts, your fears. It may seem uncomfortable, even painful, as if the world around you is pressing in on you, demanding that you do something, anything to fill the space. But silence, in its raw and unyielding form, holds the potential for something much deeper. Transformation. It is within this quiet, often uncomfortable space that true growth begins. When we silence the noise of the world, we allow ourselves the opportunity to truly listen. To listen not just to the external world, but to the whispers of our inner selves we often avoid. Silence, because it forces us to confront what we have been running from, the parts of us that we've ignored or denied, the parts that may still carry pain or regret, rise to the surface when there is nothing else to distract us. But in that confrontation, there is healing. In that stillness, there is space for reinvention. Science behind this is as profound as it is simple. When we engage in silence, especially in the form of meditation or deep reflection, the brain enters a state of neuroplasticity. This is the brain's ability to reorganize itself, to form new neural connections, and to reshape the way we think and perceive the world. Silence, far from being empty or wasted time, becomes the fertile soil where new ideas, new behaviors, and new ways of thinking can take root. But this transformation doesn't happen in the blink of an eye. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to sit with discomfort, to let the silence work its magic. It's in the quiet moments that you begin to hear your true self, not the version of you shaped by the opinions of others or the noise of the outside world. but the version of you that has always been there, waiting to be discovered. The more you embrace silence, the more you will come to understand that it is not something to fear, but something to welcome in that space. You will find the courage to face your shadow, the parts of yourself that you've avoided, that you've been afraid to acknowledge. And when you confront them with compassion and acceptance, you begin to heal. That each moment of silence is an opportunity to reconnect with your core, to sift through the noise and find clarity. It is in these moments of stillness that you can begin to reimagine your life, to rebuild yourself from the inside out. You don't need to wait for the world to change. You can change from within in the quiet, sacred space of your own mind. As you continue this journey, remember that silence is not a void to be feared, but a canvas upon which you can paint your true evolution. The more you embrace this silence, the more you will realize that you are not lost in it. You are being reborn, reshaped, and restored. The silence is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of something new. Loneliness is one of the most misunderstood experiences of the human condition. We are taught from an early age that to be alone is to be abandoned, to be left behind. It is often seen as a negative space, something to be avoided at all costs. Yet it is in solitude when we face the raw truth of who we are. The true strength is born. The fear of being alone is a fear we must confront. If we are to ever know our true power, when we are ignored, especially by someone we care about, the immediate reaction is often one of pain and rejection. We feel that absence, that coldness, and it triggers something deep within us. The mind starts telling stories. I am unworthy, I must have done something wrong, or I am not enough. This fear, this shadow is the very thing that holds us back from embracing solitude. We fear being alone because we fear that we will find nothing but emptiness inside. But this fear is a lie. The truth is, it is in solitude that we encounter our true selves. The world is full of distractions, full of noise, but it is in the quiet, in the space where there are no external voices telling us who we should be, that we come to know who we truly are. As Seneca wisely said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. We waste time by clinging to the approval of others, by running from our own discomfort, and by avoiding the very thing that holds the key to our inner peace. Solitude. In solitude, you stand alone, not as a victim of circumstances, but as a person who has found strength in the absence of external validation. In this silence, you can hear the quiet whispers of your soul, the parts of you that have been drowned out by the noise of the world. It is in these moments that you can reflect on your fears, your desires, and your true needs, unclouded by the opinions or expectations of others. You can no longer hide from yourself in solitude. You must face everything you've been avoiding. That it is in the void of loneliness that we discover courage, just as the darkness of the night reveals the brilliance of the stars. The solitude of our hearts reveals the strength that has always been within us.